and the champion for three. He is hard to believe.
What's going on, guys? Welcome to Dime Dropper, another 2021-2022 post-game recap. Before we get started, please make sure to subscribe on YouTube at Dime Dropper Podcast, Apple Podcasts, follow us on Spotify, and of course, to follow us on all social media platforms at Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok at Dime Dropper Pod. For tonight's live and tonight's episode, it will be a short one. It will be talking about the Clippers and the Grizzlies. The Clippers dropping to 0-2 against the Memphis Grizzlies this season. As my Dime Dropper fam knows, my second least favorite franchise in the NBA because of the rivalry that the Clippers had. The closest thing the Clippers have ever had to a rivalry in my eyes, the early 2010s Lob City Clips versus Grit and Grind Grizz. We move on to 0-2. We dropped to 0-2 against them this season with the loss tonight in commanding fashion for Memphis. They blew the absolute doors off of us in the second half, particularly in the late third quarter and early fourth quarter. 120-108, Memphis wins it at the FedEx Forum, but it was much uglier than that, I can assure you. Before the game, we heard that Nico Batum wasn't going to be playing, but Terrence Mann is back after a one-game absence with the ankle sprain. We did not see him against San Antonio. At least we did see him in in street clothes. We did not see him in Clipper attire. But tonight we did. However, Ty Lue made the somewhat controversial decision of starting the brewmaster, Amir Coffey, instead of Terrence Mann. And I don't think that it paid off too well. You can't fault him for experimenting, but I don't think that neither Terrence nor Coffey benefited from this. Not to say that it's Ty's fault that they had bad games, but I just don't think they were good enough. And in the beginning of the game, there's a clear matchup problem when we play the Grizzlies, and I'll tell you what it is. The obvious basic thing is youth and athleticism. So you look at their youth, right? You got John Morant, Dylan Brooks, Jaren Jackson Jr., and Desmond Bane. Every single one of those players are in their fourth year or less. I think Dylan Brooks, but PG has mileage. Bledsoe and Reggie Jackson have been in the league for around 10 years plus, or around 10 years. Yeah, 10 years plus at this point. I believe so with Reggie at least. I know with Bledsoe, he came in 2010, so this is his 12th season. But Amir Coffey, yeah, he gives us some youth, but they're an athletic team, and they're pretty long, especially with Jaren Jackson playing the 4 because he's the size of a normal 4. He just doesn't play like one anymore because now he's just a three-point chucker for the most part. But I thought that he had a good game tonight because he mixed it up a little more than usual. But I'll tell you what, Jaren Jackson Jr.'s defense is really good. He's got really long arms, and as I said, he's the size of a 4, but he can stretch the floor, which it's basically like having, your big threes out there. Like your Nick Batum's what he does for us. But you look at the size of their lineup with just Jaren Jackson Jr. alone at the 4. Who's our 4? Who's our second tallest guy? Paul George. And it's the same problem the Lakers have with AD at the 5 and LeBron out. It's like, at least with Paul George and Batum, when we have them, we have two bigger forwards that are like, kind of do what LeBron does. When the big man gets pulled out, which is Zoo, they're able to rotate underneath and rebound and deter the rolling big men. But tonight, what kept happening is the same thing that happened in LA when we went to the game on opening night. If you haven't checked out the opening night vlog against the Grizzlies, why don't you go check it out? It's there, and it's a good one, opening night. But John Morant, Desmond Bane, and Dylan Brooks, who was fantastic shooting the ball tonight. It seemed like all of them were fantastic shooting the ball tonight. They shot 54% as a team, 52 out of 96, and then 11 of 26 from 3, 42%. And guess what? They shot 13 less threes than us. Even though we shot the ball well from 3, in the end, when we started falling behind, and this was what you won't see with the stats, we shot 41% as a team, but we started missing threes over and over towards the end, or should I say towards the part where the Grizzlies created separation. And that was it for us. And I think that the Grizzlies, I saw a stat tonight, that they are number 1 in points in the paint this season and number 2 in second chance points. And we saw exactly why. Before I continue, I also want to say thanks to everybody that showed up to the color cast today. I had an opportunity to try out for a commentating little gig where if I get hired or chosen, I can get $100 per game that they designate. And tonight we had 1,000 likes, not from different people, but we were spamming hearts and always consistently 5 to 15 people inside the chat room or whatever, inside our cast. So thanks to everybody that joined in and tuned in, and hopefully they choose us. But let's continue with the game. I immediately noticed the problem in the first quarter. It's the same problem we had last time, where when Ja Morant's coming off those screens, we don't want to trap him for some reason. We don't want to, either blitz or hard hedge recover and, let somebody take Steven Adams on the short roll. We seem uncomfortable with that because they burned us with their shooters last time. So we tried to play them more straight up in drop coverage, and Zubac's playing in between roller and ball handler like we did against San Antonio. Problem is, even though DeJounte Murray is pretty good in this in-between game, nobody's like Ja Morant. And it wasn't just Ja Morant in the beginning. It was Desmond Bane. It was Dylan Brooks. They were all hitting their mid-ranges. And Reggie Jackson and Eric Bledsoe, especially Reggie Jackson, was just dying on screens. It's as if and Adams is a great screen setter, maybe the best screen setter in the league. So that's part of why it is. And we saw that in the first matchup when we played them in LA when I was there. Steven Adams sets the screen. It's like our guard dies. It's basically like Ja Morant's going downhill against Zubats, and Zubats has to basically guard 2 players. So now people are saying, oh, Zubats played like trash. Zubats was ass. Totally disagree. I think Zubats is in a tough position when all our guards, Eric and Reggie, are dying on screens when Adams is setting them. And look, I don't watch every Grizzlies game. Maybe those looks are there every single game when people play pick and roll straight up with Ja Morant and Steven Adams, because Steven Adams is a great screen setter, as I said. And Ja, his floaters are on point. He was hitting all of them. He was hitting his mid-range. He was popping at the elbow. Dylan Brooks was doing the same. Desmond Bane was doing the same. But luckily for us, Ivica Zubac was keeping us in the game. And I thought we did a decent job of swinging the ball and feeding Paul George. And he gets all of our team good looks. It's incredible. I mean, just his presence. He can always blow by one guy or always get a good shot off. And Dylan Brooks was trying very hard to give him what we saw with Steph Curry in the play-in game, on him as much as possible, fight him off the ball. I like Dylan Brooks' mentality. In the color cast today, Nick said he has got a little bit of an old school feel to him, because even though he is a chucker, he doesn't have that. He has no, he does not know any, what's the word? He's got the green light. He's got that green light constantly, but I thought that his shot selection was better than he normally does, than it normally is tonight. He usually shoots a lot of threes. Tonight, only 3 attempts from deep, and he only made 1 of them. 7 of 14 from the field, so he shot 6 of 11 from 2, and a lot of those were in that mid-range area, and it felt like he hit damn near everything, and he made it tough on Paul George. But thankfully, Ivica Zubac was doing a good job of rebounding and rolling and being underneath the basket for somebody to penetrate and dish, and he got a couple of buckets, a couple of nice jump hooks, and he had a great first quarter. Second quarter, I thought we did a good job because Paul George started getting going. He started hitting threes. He started doing his thing. Luke Kennard came in and gave us a nice boost, hitting 3 threes in the first half. And Amir Coffey, he made some mistakes. For example, his heel was out of bounds twice in the corner. That's something that, we're kind of spoiled seeing Nick Batum do so well. He never really gets those out of bounds in the corners. And both times in the right corner, I believe, Amir Coffey stepped out of bounds. There was even a time early in the third quarter where Eric Bledsoe did not trust his passing ability to lob it over the top to Zubac. They were fronting him. Instead, waited for the weak side defender to try to cheat over and cross-courted it to Amir Coffey, whose foot was out of bounds. But because of Paul George, because Reggie Jackson, despite his terrible defense, was still hitting some threes and hitting some shots, our three-point shooting and the fact that we were shooting so well, and a lot of it was because of good movement of the ball, and it's because of Paul George. We made it a 4-point game, 52-56 at the half, and we stuck around for basically half the third quarter. And again, Paul George was just carrying us. It just felt as though he was going to need some assistance, though, and he wasn't really getting it. throughout the game. I mean, he only ended up playing 31 minutes because Ty pulled him out early, which we'll get into in a second. But in that third quarter, in that first half of the third quarter, he was hitting ridiculous threes. Like, I felt bad for Dylan Brooks, honestly, because he was playing such good defense, but Paul was just untouchable. However, we could not stop them and we could not rebound. They killed us on the glass. We had 34 rebounds in the game and they had 47. And they had 12 offensive rebounds to our 7. And a lot of that was Jaren Jackson Jr. A lot of that was a little bit of, I'm pretty sure Steven Adams. Yeah, 5 offensive rebounds for Steven Adams, 2 offensive rebounds for Jaren Jackson Jr. And that was really frustrating. And a lot of why that was happening was because the same thing. And in the third quarter, it was really exclusively Ja. It was Ja putting Reggie Jackson or Eric Bledsoe in pick and rolls, and they looked like they were feasting on Reggie Jackson throughout the game. And Reggie, he usually, as far as this season, has held his own better on defense this year. But tonight, he was not able to guard anybody. It doesn't matter. It didn't matter if it was pick and roll. It didn't matter if it was in transition. He wasn't even putting an effort on guys. And Eric Bledsoe wasn't much better either. In that third quarter, they put him in. He was guarding Ja Morant, died on every screen. Even he went underneath and Ja was hitting threes. And we've seen that in both matchups when we played him this year. We go into the screen, he hits threes. So I guess we have, and honestly, we maybe should just keep going under because the going over approach does not work any better. Zoo has to do a much better job, though, of stepping up and taking away that floater. I like it better when guards try to go all the way to the cup on Zoo, so he has a step or two to recover and chase down and block from behind. Zoo gets chase down blocks. I think sometimes, though, he underestimates his foot speed and he stays too far back and guys step into comfortable mid-ranges, floaters, or threes. We saw threes the other night with Zach LaVine, and we saw floaters with Ja Morant. I think Zoo needs to come up a little bit and rely on the rotations. The problem is without Nico, not only are those rotations not as sharp, there's not as tall or long of a guy that is rotating to that big man that is Steven Adams or Jaren Jackson Jr. In a lot of cases, Steven Adams tonight. And we only had Paul George out there tonight that had that length, that had that athleticism, that was a true forward. Everybody else, the Kennards, the Reggie Jacksons, the Bledsoes, even the Brewmaster does not have the same chemistry communicating with the starting 5. And that's the thing. Nico Batum is such an important communicator. When a starting 5 starts to click defensively as a team, they hear each other's voices. They know where each other is. They know which pick and rolls and screens to switch. When a guy like Nico Batum, so important, comes out of that, and you put a guy in who's never really played with these guys in real time, and Amir Coffey's played small minutes this season. Don't try to convince me that he's played real rotation minutes, especially with the starters. He is not. I watch every game. I'm at every game. And that's a little tough for him. And our defense just wasn't as sharp, but we were dying on these screens. Ja Morant was hitting every floater, every mid-range. And look, some of these were just incredible shots by the Grizzlies. They had a really good night shooting the ball. Ja Morant is able to just finish everything at the rim. Like, he just goes into the teeth of the defense. Zubac and Hartenstein had some great moments where they went up vertical, and he still finished. Jaren Jackson Jr., I thought he did some good things on rolls. He made a couple of threes, 3 of 7. So I guess he shot a pretty good percentage, but he honestly could have been like 3 of 5. He took some ridiculous ones, but he had some good rolls. And I remember there was one play where we finally threw 2 on Ja Morant off the screen. We basically tried to force the ball out of his hands, and Reggie Jackson was stuck between the cross-court rotation or the nearest pass. You've got to take away the nearest pass first, man. This is basketball 101. I know you're worried about the 3, but Desmond Bane hadn't shot in a while, and Jaren Jackson was basically free at 10 feet away. Reggie didn't rotate, and Eric Bledsoe was starting to get so confused in those screens with Ja Morant. At one point, he thought Ja was going to take the screen to his right, and Ja went the other way around him and got right to Zoo. And, at times, you figure, should we throw Paul George on the ball? We probably should have. We should have trapped. Next time we play the Grizzlies, I want to see Ja Morant get the ball trapped on every screen. We got to give him the Dame treatment. We seriously got to give him the Dame treatment. I know he can't shoot from as deep, but just get the ball out of his hands. Honestly, I'd rather have the other guys just beat us, and chuck their way out of the game. Because the thing is, with threes, sometimes you get burned with that stuff, but more often than not, especially with a team like Memphis, this isn't the Warriors. This isn't the Rockets with Harden in those days. They will not hit everything. They clearly are number one in points in the paint. So they like feasting down low and feasting with easier buckets. And that's why they never got out of rhythm tonight, because all their shots were routine. All their shots were fairly easy. I would rather have them chuck themselves out of the game. And I know they were making it last time, but shit, we have a real problem, because the only way to combat this is to have switch everything sort of personnel, or be able to switch the Steven Adams jaw pick and roll. And without Batum, without Kawhi, without Paul George, and without Senior, I mean, I shouldn't say Paul George. Paul George was there. I'm sorry. But without those three forwards, Kawhi Senior and Morris, and maybe even Serge, we don't have the switching personnel. We don't have the personnel to even go small, because we don't have bigger forwards. So we can't put Amir Coffey at the 4 and Paul George at the 5. That's not going to work. We have to have Nico out there or Senior. And tonight we didn't have Nico or Senior. So we had to keep a real traditional center out there. And that's why you didn't see Zoo for the rest of the game, because that pick and roll with Adams and Ja was too hard to guard for us. And it's the second time that's happened this season with that pick and roll, because we don't have the switching personnel for that specific matchup unless we go all small, which we didn't have the luxury of doing tonight. So that's why I think this is more of a matchup thing, Clipper fans. Yes, they blew the brakes off of us. We were not making our threes late third quarter and the fourth quarter. Terrence Mann, he was fiending threes too much. One thing that's become a pet peeve of mine in the modern NBA, and you tell me, guys, if this was taught to you as a kid when you were playing basketball, but I used to be taught that when you pump fake a guy at the three-point line and he jumps, you take a dribble or two in and you step into that mid-range. Nowadays, you take a pump fake, a guy flies by, and you step to the side to stay behind the three-point line. But that's an easier recovery when he makes it back to his feet, because you are sliding to your left or right. You are not going forward. You see what I'm saying? And Terrence did that tonight, and he passed him a mid-range, and he just continued to brick threes. And I hate when Terrence gets to it and just shooting threes, because he's much more than that. He's a slasher. He's a good driver, and he has an underrated mid-range game that he sleeps on himself. So he cannot fall in love with the three, because he's not good enough at threes for that anyway. He was 2 of 9 from the field tonight and 1 of 5 from three. It was his first, he missed a game. He's probably not 100%. So we'll give him a slight pass. 5 points for Terrence, not the best night. Luke Kennard, 15 points, but he didn't really get too much shine in the second half. Only 24 minutes, 6 of 8 from the field, and 3 of 4 from three. And in the beginning of the fourth quarter, when we were down like 20 points, Ty didn't really even care to give us a chance to come back. He sat Paul George and was just over it and put Jay Scrubb in the game. And I don't know how I feel about that. It was a little bit too much of a throw in the towel job, but I think he was thinking like, look, we lost this one. We didn't play well. I don't want Paul to overexert himself trying to get us back in this game. We move on to New Orleans. We got a back-to-back tomorrow, and I know that was on his mind. And New Orleans has been shitty, so if we lose to them, that will be an actual concern. We need to beat them tomorrow. And look, we played so poorly that our starters rested in the fourth. He shot only 1 of 2 and 1 3, and he was 1 of 1. On twos, which I remember that what it was. It was a drive to the basket. He scored. He needs to be a little more aggressive. If he's going to be aggressive and do what we want, and that's drive to the basket, he needs to keep doing that, and he shouldn't hesitate. 4 points for Eric, only 1 of 2 in 25 minutes. Reggie shot well from 3, 4 out of 8, but 7 of 16, and some very ill-advised and rush shots. I didn't like the way he played tonight. 18 points and 5 assists for Reg. Paul, 23 points, 5 rebounds, 6 assists on 9 of 18 from the field and 5 of 9 from 3. He was carrying us. The one thing I don't like, though, 0 of 0 from the foul line. Needs to be better. I know he doesn't get calls, but he should have gotten like 2 free throws, but he needs to keep being aggressive and attacking. But you got to give the Grizzlies credit. They have size with Jaren Jackson and Steven Adams. Coffee, 2 of 8 from the field and 2 of 6 from 3. He should have had 10 attempts because 2 of them were blown by him stepping on his heel on the line. 8 points. It wasn't the best night for him. He just seemed a little bit lost and a little bit out of his depth. Isaiah Hartenstein, 11 points in 20 minutes on 5 of 6. He was good, but it was the jaw show. 13 of 21 from the field for the young lad. 2 of 5 from 3. He was fantastic. 28 points, 5 rebounds, and 5 assists, and only 1 turnover. Desmond Bane, efficient. Again, a great game against us. 16 points, 5 boards, 7 of 11 from the field, 2 of 3 from 3. Dylan Brooks, as I mentioned earlier, 18 points on 7 of 14 from the field and 1 of 3 from 3. JJJ, 18 points, 6 boards, 4 blocks. His length was a problem. 7 of 16 from the field and 3 of 7 from 3. But one thing in the color cast I mentioned, this guy has so much potential, and I think he can be the closest thing to a second star for them. But he is too falling in love with the 3. He needs to post up again like I saw him do his rookie year because he actually has some talent around there. Brandon Clark off the bench, just a good energizer. 15 minutes of play, 14 points on 7 and 9. That's it for tonight, guys. The Clippers drop to 9 and 6. The Grizzlies move on to 8 and 7. 120 to 108 is the final from the FedEx Forum. I will be live tomorrow, likely, not guaranteeing anything though, after the Pels game. The Miami Heat move into first in the East, though, with a win tonight against the Wizards. They win that by 15, 112 to 97. Bradley Beal had 30 points, 6 rebounds, and 5 assists on 11 of 18 shooting in the loss. The big three was back tonight. Kyle Lowry had 12 assists to go along with 8 points. Bam Adebayo, 20 points, 9 rebounds, and another 30-point game for Jimmy Buckets. 32 points, 5 assists, 4 steals, 1 turnover on 11 of 19 from the field. Only 1 3-point attempt. So there you go for all you guys that think you need to be able to shoot threes to drop 30 in this league. Yeah, he's not a 30-point scorer, and I don't think that's because he didn't have a 3. I think he just doesn't have too much of a bag one-on-one. But, hey, maybe this year he's gone back to that 2020 self and gained his scoring confidence back because he doesn't have as much playmaking duties with Lowry. I haven't even watched one full Heat game yet, but they look impressive from what I've been seeing and what I've been hearing. So 32 points for Jimmy Buckets. The Warriors with another win. They are flying. Steph Curry with 40 points. Clear front runner for MVP. 9 of 16 from 3. That's ridiculous. Over 50% on 16 attempts. Jesus. And he's like the only player that I'll say, like, majority of shots that he shoots are threes. That's fine. Like, I would say that for Curry, it's okay. Beat the Cavs at the Q. 104 to 89. Cavs dropped to 9 and 8. Warriors 13 and 2. Number 1 in the West right now, and it's mostly due to that light-skinned guy. Big win for the Timberwolves tonight. 25-piece against the Spurs, who dropped to 4 and 11, right on cue as how bad I thought they were going to be in my preseason preview. Thought the Timberwolves would be better, and they look better so far. Devin Vassell was the high man for the Spurs with 18 points off the bench, but Edwards, 13 points, 5 rebounds, 6 assists, 2 steals, 2 blocks on 5 of 11 shooting. 3 of 8 from 3. I don't like that 8 out of his 11 shots were threes. Karl-Anthony Towns, though, 25 points, 12 rebounds, 5 assists. That's much better. 9 of 16 from the field and only 3 out of 4 from 3. So he only shot 4 threes, 12 twos. That's what I like to see from Cat, and they win as a result. D'Angelo Russell, not a great shooting night. 6 of 19 and 4 of 12 from 3, but 22 points in the end. 15 for Malik Beasley off the bench, 13 for McDaniels off the bench, and 13 for Taurean Prince off the bench. Probably in garbage time, though, since he only played 15 minutes. But who knows? But that's a good win for the Wolves to win commandingly. Philadelphia winning in Denver by 14, 103-89. That's a really good win without Joel Embiid. And Jokic played. The only people out were Jamal Murray, obviously, and Michael Porter Jr. That's a bad loss for the Denver Nuggets. Aaron Gordon, 4 of 13. Monte Morris, 5 of 13. Jesus. Tyrese Maxey with 22 points and Seth Curry with 20 points. And then the last result, Utah beats Toronto by 16 at home. You'd expect that. 10 and 5, the Utah Jazz. 31 for Gary Trent Jr. and an efficient 31 too. 20 for Donovan Mitchell. 20 for Rudy Gay off the bench on 7 of 8 shooting. But yeah, that's it for me tonight, guys. Thanks for joining me. I'll probably see you guys tomorrow for the Pelicans game. Now we go to the live subscribers waiting so patiently in the chat. 24 minutes, just like we had last season. Shout out to Bean. What's up, y'all? What's going on, G's? Sup, Sendo? Sup, Lake Show? Sup, Erod? Sup, Jonah? John Morant is a baller. Joey Sixpack, glad to have you on the live, G. Erod, man, here's how you look at it when you say you see Zubac, you get mad at Magic. You won a championship, we haven't. Be thankful. Magic's won 5 of them, so he's made up for his. He makes one bad trade, best player in franchise history with Kobe. You can make an argument it's Magic, though. He is the Lakers. And Zoo is not perfect, man. He's not in some championship. He hasn't proven to be any championship center yet. I like Zoo, though. I think he can be potentially. Yes, rest in peace, young Dolph, man. It's very sad. Yes, Moses Cañecas is back-to-back 30 points for Jimmy Buckets. Yep. Lakeshore says I was tapped to attack the cup, mostly after a pump fake, other than mid-range. Collins dang, since Terrence Mann got to be playing better tomorrow. I agree. By the way, thanks for joining me in the color cast today, Lakeshore and Collins dang. Erod says Miami Heat balling and dang. Do you see the play of Jimmy Buckets troublemaker, big shot taker? I have not seen. Any concerns about the Bulls? Asked Joey Sixpack. As a Bulls fan, I know he won't win the ship this year, but eventually, who knows? Interior defense. It's not a concern thus far, but I think Vucevic is going to have to be better if you want to advance like deep in the playoffs. But right now, hell no, I wouldn't be concerned. I would be enjoying this ride. What's up, Maxwell? Phoenix Plazy says Jimmy Butler, Paul George, and DeRozan are all the OGs from the 016 Olympic team, are all balling, and in my opinion, are all in the same tier of players this season. I agree with that. I think Paul George is the best of the three. That's my bias, though. After last year's playoffs, I feel like that's the safest answer. Erod, not a lot of people came to the stream tonight, but really not that much less than yesterday. And it's late right now, and I did not say that I was going to do it all night, so it would have been better to go right after the Clipper game, but I couldn't. Daniel Clifford says, I understand missing Kawhi. We got a ton of wing depth this offseason, but what we really needed is power forward depth by Nico and Senior. Well, also, I forgot to mention no Justice Winslow tonight either. He's big for these type of things. Joey Sixpack said, what do you think about D'Lo maybe going to 5 or 6 teams before he's 27, considering he proved he can play in the NBA? Joey Sixpack, I think that D'Angelo Russell is a lazy player with poor shot selection that has a lot of talent. And I think that he has not been on 5 or 6 teams. Lakers, Brooklyn, and Minnesota. Oh, no, Golden State too. 4 teams. He needs to figure it out here in Minnesota. There's no reason why they shouldn't make that play-in spot. I said they should before the season in my preview. If you guys haven't checked out my season preview, go check it out. Contenders and sleepers. They were one of my sleepers. I said they could finish 10th if they keep the big 3 healthy. And right now, they could do that. Damn, Erod says, I wanted to join your color class, but it's only for Apple users. That's whack. They got to fix their app. And I am Android. Darian, how am I doing tonight? Right? I'm doing okay. I'm never doing great after a Clipper loss. There's been some stuff on my mind. Hopefully get that sorted this weekend, and I'll have a bigger smile next week. Phoenix Plazy says, who's your top 5 for Rookie of the Year? I got Scotty Barnes, Evan Mobley, and Wagner. Well, definitely Scotty Barnes and Evan Mobley. I guess Wagner. I mean, doesn't sound like I don't think Jalen Green nor Cade has shown anything better than those 3 that you named. I mean, definitely not Scotty Barnes or Mobley. ZZ Visions asks, is the Heat matchup with the Bulls in the playoffs? I'm going to have to bust that his occasional aggression. You're right. Thank you, Erod. I root for you to get chosen by Colorcast. Comments on Giannis saying in 2 years or 3 years he could leave Milwaukee. I take it a year at a time. Raid asks, Darian, who's the better player at their peak? Steph Curry or Dwayne Wade? Ooh, that's so tough. See, a lot of Gen Z bots think Steph Curry, no doubt. But man, Dwayne Wade in his prime, oh my goodness, he was so much better. I mean, Steph Curry is holding his own on defense this season. I'll give him that. And I think I've always said, I think he's underrated at defense. He just doesn't have the tools to be that good of a defender. He's small. He's not that, I mean, he's pretty strong, deceptively strong for his size, but he's nothing like, he's not some tank. He ain't no lockdown. He's not even as good a defender as Chris Paul or Mike Conley. At least, maybe not. Maybe this season he's better. I have to watch it this season, but not as of last season or before. And Dwayne Wade was a legitimate great defender. He could stop great players. He's the best shot blocking guard of all time. I think that he was, obviously could post up. Steph Curry doesn't post up. That's not it. He's too small. D Wade in the mid-range area was so lethal, and he was so explosive. Steph Curry's never been that athletic, but Steph's got that 3 ball, and it's so potent. I think there's no wrong answer to this question, but I have to go with my opinion. As of now, I think Steph will surpass him. When it's all said and done, I will have Steph over him. But I got D Wade because I like his 06 ring and the title, the way he did it and how he did it so young, over the 2015 ring that Steph won. They both won 2 championships as kind of like, hey, I'm the franchise player, but there's somebody on my level or better than me that's coming here, and I'm going to sacrifice. But I think Steph Curry's rings were pretty easy, whereas the Miami Heat ones, I think that had less depth, and they don't have a 4th star. So D-Wade, LeBron, and Bosh still needed to play well. And for those that think Bosh didn't play well, he did huge things on defense. He was just out of rhythm as it went on because LeBron, you know how it is with him, and he dominates the ball a lot. and he had to be a third guy that was comfortable with certain pick and pop looks and occasional post touches. Very rare. But D Wade, I guess, when it's all said and done, when it's all said and done, I think Curry will be better. I don't have a problem if you think Curry's better now. I mean, he has 2 MVPs. D Wade has none, but I don't really give a shit about regular season MVPs that the media designates the criteria for, which is, what's their expectation before the season? How well do you do relative to those expectations? And if you do better than them or play great, who's the best player? Have they been great relative to everyone else? Steph Curry was the clear-cut best player in the league in 2016, but the best player in the league in 2016 did not try very hard in the regular season in 2016, and that's LeBron. And when D Wade was competing for MVPs, Kobe and LeBron were both trying very hard in the end of the 2000s, and D Wade had a case in 2009, a huge one. But let's see what the comments are. Dwayne Wade, my GOAT, says ZZ Visions. Collins Dang asks, any concerns about the Suns this year? No, especially not with their 10-game winning streak. The only concern I have is that Chris Paul, maybe he'll get hurt late because he's old. But other than that, they're more experienced. It's just a matter of who they see in the playoffs. And I think that this year, the whole Lakers, Clippers weren't healthy thing, and Nuggets, we'll see if they're healthy. Phoenix plays. He says Kyle Lowry's making Bam Adebayo look glorified, one of the best pickups of the offseason. That guy running Miami's offense perfectly. He's a savant. But they play well without him, too. So what do you have to say about that, Phoenix plays, Z? Is it all been Kyle Lowry why they've improved? Top 5 overrated players this year, Joey Sixpack? Are you saying that they've been overrated? Like people are overrating them based on how they've performed? Because I feel like if you're getting hype early in the season, that means you have to be playing well to some extent. I mean, obviously, I think Anthony Davis and Russell Westbrook right now are not playing up to their worth. I guess Vucevic has looked overrated so far this season with when I've seen him play. Not much else. I don't really have any bad things to say about players right now. It's too early in the season for that. Lake Show says going Wade overall as a player, playmaker. I honestly, who's a better I mean, I think Curry may be a slightly better passer. He's a point guard, but Wade could freaking pass, dude. Man, I love Wade. He was such a beast. Going Wade overall as a player, playmaker, defense, scorer, had one of the greatest playoff stretches in 06, shooting mid-50s, winning that chip. Yeah, I feel you, Lake Show. It's a good argument. I mean, I can't argue with that. Max Valencia says, I love Dylan Brooks and the Clippers, man. Hayden says Dwayne Wade. Lake Show says agrees. Steph overall later on when Steph retires. Hayden Stiggerton says Dwayne Wade's clutch factor was insane. Yeah, I'd honestly take Dwayne Wade in the last 2 minutes too. ZZ Vision says Tyler Heroes has taken a leap this year. Big reason why Miami is better as well. Facts. He snapped out of that sophomore slump, third-year revival, comeback season. In the Stephen saying Katie and Kyrie were supposed to go to the Knicks and DeAndre Jordan had to call both of them to get it together. Is that a thing? And I don't know how much I believe that. Phoenix plays these as the net rating of their lineups and the pace changes drastically when Lowry's in the lineup. Are you saying the pace is faster when he plays or slower? I mean, I can imagine, look, the net rating stuff, dude, of course, when Kyle Lowry's playing, especially when he plays with Butler and Bam in the starting unit, of course the net rating is going to be higher. So I know maybe drastically different. I don't buy too much into that stuff. Faster. Okay. That's good. Even for an old man. I mean, I have no doubt that I still think he's a top 10 point guard in the league on the lower half, but he is. Because he had that championship experience. The Lowry, I always tell this to some of my friends, the Lowry after he won the chip with Toronto is different. He has a different confidence about him. He used to get rattled. You'll remember that. Lake Show asked, props to Lawler making a time GOAT mentor list. Who are your top 5 commentators for NBA all time? Are we talking play-by-play guys, Lake Show? And does that include national and local? Kawhi effect, he says. Will Jimmy Butler make the Hall of Fame? Way too early for that talk. Let's let them play their careers out. 2005 Heat or 2021 Bucks? You mean the 06 Heat? That's a great... I said that this Bucks team was the weakest championship team since the 06 Heat. That was my claim. It'd be a good matchup. The Heat. I think the Heat would have won. I don't know, though. It's tough. Shaq may have feasted on Brook Lopez. Giannis would have probably had to guard Shaq. And the Bucks weren't making their threes enough to for me to say the spacing and all this. I mean, of course it's a threat, but are we playing 2021 rules or 05, 06 rules? I'd probably say the Heat in 7. That'd be my pick for that. The Heat in 7. It depends though. If we're playing 2021 rules, maybe I go with the Bucks in 7. Yeah, Joey Sixpack is right. AD's proving sorry he's not top 75. Who's the best player in the league right now? Raheed, gotta be Steph Curry. Gotta be Steph Curry. KD second, and you can argue KD first, but those two. Then Giannis right there after. I guess you can argue Giannis too because he won the chip. Oh, Collins Deng says 05 Heat. Oh, I guess the 2021 Bucks because they won the championship. I'll give them the benefit of the doubt. I'd say 2021 Bucks. 06 Heat, though, I'm going with the Heat. I'm going with the Heat. So my favorite commentators. Obviously, I gotta go no order. Chick Hearn, Ralph Lawler. Are we talking just basketball? Oh, yeah, you said NBA. Okay, Ralph Lawler, Chick Hearn. I like Breen, Marv Albert, and I'd say either Kevin Harlan or Brent Musburger. But I really like Matt Devlin from the Raptors. I really like Eric Collins from Charlotte now. He's really funny. I always thought Spiro Ditas and Iron Eagle were pretty good as well. But Phoenix Plays, he says Shaq played bad the entire 06 postseason. Did he not? He wasn't great in the finals. I don't remember the other rounds as well, but I don't think he played badly. They made it to the finals, and I know D Wade carried a huge load, and it wasn't the Shaq of old. But to say Shaq was bad, I don't agree. And plus, he wouldn't be going against brute centers that are there just to guard him. He would be going up against Brook Lopez and Bobby Portis, dude. He would feast on those fools. So that's why. 2020 Heat versus 2007 Cavs. Great one. I got the Cavs. I think they have the best player in the series with LeBron, and I think their defense is definitely better than the Heat. And the Heat can spread the floor or whatnot. Again, though, what rules? Are we going 2020 or are we going 07? It's not too drastic, but it still favors the bigger teams, 07. I'm going with 07 in 6 or 7 games. Yeah, I don't even know if that Heat team's better than the Pistons. I'm going 6 or 7 games for the Cavs. 07. I like that Cavs team, man. That team is good. People are asleep. Their defense was so good. Stacey King is not a play-by-play guy. He's a color commentator. Joey Sixpack. Daniel Clifford says no Brian. I love Brian, but he's still got to work his way up. Those guys I mentioned, 20 plus years as a TV play-by-play guy. Brian's only been a play-by-play guy for this is his 3rd season as a TV play-by-play guy. He did radio before. Man, I feel you on that Lake Show. He needs to say, Terrence, that's a man's jam. Oh, no. Oh, man, I forgot about Mike. Lake Show. I forgot about Mike. Mike Gorman, Celtics announcer. Yes, he's one of my favorites, too. He's classic, dude. The biased one was the late, great Tommy Heinsohn. Mike Gorman's biased, but he's not. Billy Mack is more biased than Mike Gorman. Way more. But Tommy was a different level. He was so biased, but he was how could you not be biased when you're Tommy? Won how many championships for them? 8 with Russell. 9 with Russell. No, 8 with Russell. 8 with Russell. He didn't stay for the 66. And then he won 2 as a coach. So he had 10 chips with the Celtics. Aziz even says, don't like Spiro. I swear he's called every Jaguars game I've ever watched. Interesting. I know he does football occasionally, but I loved him he used to be the Lakers radio announcer when Joel Myers was the play-by-play guy back in the late 2000s. And he was great. I know he's going to get promoted to TV at some point, but I thought he would get promoted to TV for the Lakers. They promoted Billy Mack. Warriors, we believe team, most underrated squad ever? Nah. They're not that underrated. They're very well remembered as far as teams that only make it out of the first round. When was Kawhi Leonard's peak? I think it started in his peak was probably 2019. But who's to say if we didn't win another championship last year that it couldn't have continued? Because 2020, yeah, he choked. Everybody has their choke moment, though. Joey Sixpack. How you feel about the Rams now that the NFC is a huge toss-up? Bucks losing, Cowboys being Cowboys, aka losing in playoffs. I think I feel nervous, and I think that we just got to take it one game at a time and build good habits going into the postseason. Joey or Lake Show says, I don't like Billy Mack whatsoever. I prefer Joel Myers and Paul Sunderland over him. I feel you on that. Joel Myers, though, here comes Kobe. Kobe for three. It's going to be Kobe. And how about that guy? I just think that, I don't know, he was really biased to me. Billy Mack was kind of fresh in the beginning, but then he's gotten too fanboy-y. The Caruso! Dude, sounds like he's coming on the first basket of the game. That shit's wild. And Stu just keeps it really stoic. Like, that time AC drove to the rim. There was no help defense. Nice. Like, it's shit's funny, man. I can't wait to listen to Chicken Stew, though, when I get to that part of the timeline. Chicken Stew. That must be a dagger commentator. Lakers commentators are unbiased as Phoenix plays the total BS. Stu is unbiased. Billy Mack is not. Billy Mack is so biased. Billy Mack, you can hear it in his voice how biased he is. They just enjoy watching good basketball. I think every commentary duo, for the most part, likes. He's hella biased, though, man. Here comes LeBron. He's LBJ. This will sounds like he's nutting, bro. I'd be a better play-by-play announcer than Billy Mack, says Erod. Joey Sixpacks asks 2009 Lakers or 2011 Heat. Oh my God. Lakers beat him in like 5 games, 6 games, 5. With LeBron playing like pussy shit like that, oh my God. Because I think the 09 Lakers are better than the Mavs. The Lakers should have taken the 2011 Mavs to 6 games. Game 1, oh my goodness, man. Phil Jackson playing with fire in that road with keeping Kobe out of the game so long. He was carrying those motherfuckers. Meta World Peace playing like trash. Pau Gasol didn't have one good game in that series. But if Kobe had just made that game 1 shot at the end, could have had a different series. I'd say that's a small blemish for Kobe. Honestly, one of his bigger ones, just because he got swept and he was Mr. I never get swept. At least after he'd won a championship. But Pau Gasol not having one good game. Oh, my God. And even Lamar Odom didn't play well. And Phil Jackson threw in the towel. Matt Barnes didn't play enough. And Steve Blake was garbage. They missed Jordan Farmar. They missed Jordan Farmar. I don't know if they should have beaten the Mavs, though, Joey Sixpack. That 2011 Mavs team was determined. And Pau Gasol did not have one good game. Hey, Dime, what's your favorite call you've ever heard by a commentator live? That's a great question. I would have to say, I mean, there's one that sticks out more than anything, and that's James catches, puts up a 3, won't go, rebound Bosch, back out to Allen, his 3-pointer, bang, tie game with how many seconds remaining? 5 seconds remaining. I think that's what it was. That's got to be the most iconic one I've heard live. I can't think of another one. Back to Iguodala. Oh, blocked by James. Nah, the 2013 Game 6 was way more bad. So that's my answer. Phoenix plays a 16-17 Warriors or 96 Bulls. This question has gotten mixed responses. It all depends on the rules. That my answer to that one. If it's modern rules, post 04 rule changes, the Warriors, no question. If it's the 90s, probably the Bulls. But I think it's a toss-up. I love it when Eric Collins says, Terry, are you kidding me? Says Collins, dang. Lake Show, my question is, the question Raid asks is, do you think 08 is a blemish on Kobe's resume, respectfully? Not really. I don't remember it being a blemish at the time that he played, and I don't remember it being a blemish now. He shot 40%. That was his only not amazing series he had that whole playoff run. But you got to give credit to the way the Celtics defended him. But I think that, maybe you can say in game 1, Kobe should have, if he had started out shooting the ball better, maybe the Lakers could have won. But when Paul Pierce came back from that fake injury or whatever it was, or like small injury, the momentum of the game turned. And I just don't think Pau Gasol was ready to be a second guy on a championship team. The problem with that team was when Kobe wasn't hitting, or like when Kobe didn't play great, they did not win. Like they didn't play well enough. Only for stretches of games, but they could never actually win a playoff game with Kobe not playing well. There's no game in that playoff run, and I've watched the whole Western Conference playoff run and the finals that I recently rewatched within the last year. There's not one game you can look at where Kobe didn't play well. Just because he doesn't shoot well in 1 or 2 games does not mean he doesn't play well. Because if you look at game 1 against the Nuggets, you can look at Kobe's field goal percentage and say he didn't play well. He didn't. He carved them apart every single game. Pau Gasol and the rest of them were not ready for that. Kobe had 1 bad quarter in game 3 in game 4. The third quarter of game 4. Remember, if you guys want to know about the 08 finals, I made a whole video on it, on why Kobe lost 2 finals. So go check that out. It's a pretty good video. I made it with my boy Oceans, but to me, it's not much of a blemish. Could he have played better in game 1? Yes. Could he play better in game 6? A little. That game was just, they were done. He came out firing, but the momentum was too much. He can't guard every player. And then game 5 and game 3, he was great. Spectacular. Game 2, he took over in the second half, but I'd have to say, and he got in foul trouble that game. It really comes down to that. Maybe you can say game 1, but you really have to be nitpicking at that point. I don't even think it's as bad as LeBron's 2014 against the Spurs, where he didn't even look like he was trying. But yeah, I don't think that one is big. I think you really have to, again, another one is 06 that Lake Show's talking about. You really have to go at him for that one. I mean, I think that game 7, you can blame him, but at that point, they lost in game 6 when Lamar didn't get that rebound. 04, the worst of them. Clearly his fault. Can't say anything about it. Ooh. Daniel Clifford, Erod asks, how about Brian to Shaq? 2000. I was only 2 years old, so can't give you that one. ZZ Vision says, Walt Frazier, always funny commentator, dude reading poetry. Yeah, I don't know when Clyde became like this rhyme guy. I know he's done doing it since he's been a commentator my whole life, but I don't know when he did it. By the way, if you guys want to go see Clyde Frazier hoop, my last Time Machine episode. By the way, I'm already editing episode 4, but my last Time Machine episode, Clyde Frazier against the Lakers in game 7. Oh my God. You want to see an all-time performance by a point guard? Go watch that video. LeBron James with no regard for human life against the Celtics was good. That's a good one, Erod, but not as good as the Mike Breen one. My favorite I have watched was when Kyrie hit that 3 in 2016, says Collins. Dang. That's a good one. Enrique, right. Erod says you cannot stop him. You can only hope to contain him. Who was that again? Joey Sixpack says that Steve Nash needs to step it up as a coach. I haven't watched Nets games this season, so I can't tell you. Claudio Ferry says, you think if Kawhi comes back healthy around March, Clips can make a run for it? Hell yeah. Hell yeah. It's wide open right now. Lakeshore says they weren't mentally tough enough in 08, bro. I agree, but Kobe was a champion and Fisher was, but the other ones, no, not yet, especially Powell. And of course, yeah. Oh, another one though, Mike Breen, game 6, Clippers Jazz. I didn't watch this live though because I was at the game, but I heard it after. Man for 3. Bang! Oh, what a man! Oh, then another one was Terrence Mann is unstoppable. That was unreal. I'll never forget that. What a man, though, was the best. Oh, I love that, Daniel Clifford. I love that. Mine kind of minor, but it was at the end of game 6, Clippers Jazz, and Mike Breen said, standing ovation from Clipper faithful. I'll never forget it. That's awesome, man. I was one of those faithful. That video is so lit. You guys go back and I can watch that. Every time I'm in a shitty mood, honestly, I can watch that video and low-key cheers me up a little bit. That video of us making it past the second round and me just being there and singing. I got the place booming in that video. Oh, man. One of the best days of my life. Second best day of my life. Hayden Sigurdsson says, oh, Kevin Harlan calling Chris Paul's game winner versus Spurs, one of the best calls I've heard live. I was there. By the way, guys, I have some videos of Lob City or not as good quality. And I have some from Etihad Stadium, Man City, Liverpool. If you guys want me to post these as they're not official vlogs because I didn't have a channel back then, but post them and make compilations of those, I may have some cool footage in there. If you guys want to comment, if you guys want anything of that. The Liverpool Man City game, guys, I swear to God, if you guys want to see what a real raucous stadium looks like, I got a goal on video too. Sergio Aguero. You guys let me know because I can work on that. Phoenix Plazy says, I think the Warriors are fraudulent in the sense of being a real contender. They still have too many questions, in my opinion, for me to put them in contention. I think that there's too many questions around the league to not put them in contention, if you know what I mean. And I think with Clay coming back, I think you've got to consider him a contender, man. Lake Show says 2010 beating Celtics after getting smashed by 40 plus to close it up made up for it. I agree. And Celtics fans still complain about that. I can tell you firsthand about the refs, especially. Erod says, Lake Show. When Dime lost it after the 2020 playoffs, he mentioned the Celtics beat the Lakers without Bynum. It's like he believes that we would have beat Boston without Bynum. He really went after Glenn. I'm just saying, Erod, there will always be that if. There will always be that if. Like, I was doing it to, I was obviously shitting on Glenn. Like, that was my goal. But there's always going to be that what if. They glorify that title, though. Like, they weren't supposed to win. The only reason why here's another thing that the bronze sexual cult likes to use, or like various other people like to use, that the Lakers had the Vegas odds going into the finals. Look, I was alive at the time. I understand why that may have been the case, because the Celtics struggled with the Cavs and the Hawks in the first 2 rounds, and the Lakers had just beaten the Spurs because Kobe was on a mission. It was literally all because of Kobe. Kobe would take over games. He had a great supporting cast, but when push came to shove, the reason why that Spurs series went 5 games is because in games 1 and 5, Kobe took over the game. He clearly showed he was the best player on the court. It was insane. It was insane. And they had more, I guess they gave him that benefit of the doubt. But I remember watching it in live time. The Celtics had home court advantage in the 3 stars. I thought the Celtics were going to win the whole time. And after the first 2 games, I still thought they were going to win. And then even after the 3rd game, I still thought they were going to win. Had the Lakers won game 4, though, and gone up 3-2, maybe. But I still think the Celtics. Daniel Clifford says, for sure, that would be dope. Kevin Durant or Dwayne Wade, says Raid. Great question. I respect Dwayne Wade's career more, so I'm going to say Dwayne Wade, but I think that KD has probably sustained that top status in the league for a little longer. But that Golden State Warriors move, like I know he played 3 years there at the top of his game, and he arguably was the best player in the league, but I'm not going to give him a fair shout because he did that. So I'm not going to give him a fair shake. Again, he's same with Steph. I think KD will have a better career than Dwayne, but I like Dwayne. I think he was a better defender throughout his career. Hey, dude, what do you think about Staples Center renaming? I don't like it because it has sentimental value to me. That's all I have to say about it. It's not the Forum, though. It's not Boston Garden. It's not, Dodger Stadium. So definitely people are making it like I saw Bill Plaschke tweet about like the memories are gone. Like, no, it's not, bro. It's the same building. The name is gonna be annoying. Everyone's gonna still call it Staples Center, just like everybody in Portland probably still calls it the Rose Garden. Nobody calls that shit the Moda Center. I don't call it the Moda Center. I say the Rose Garden. The Quicken Loans Arena. That's the Q. I know it was initially the Gund Arena, but with the most famous time in that building, which is LeBron time, that's the Q. That's the Staples Center. It always will be for me. Thanks, Top Rivers. I appreciate you, man. Here's the thing about the Ariza complaint about 08. I don't give Laker fans that benefit of the doubt because Ariza had still not really integrated himself in that Laker rotation that season. He didn't. He was traded midseason. He was injured immediately. He tried to come back. He played in the finals some minutes. He just wasn't 100%. They really didn't have Ariza for that full season to work with, from my memory. So I think that's a little bit of and they navigated that whole playoffs without him. So I think it's a lame excuse. If you win the whole way, I just think that's a little bit of a lame excuse. That wasn't the 08 team that made the finals. They didn't have Ariza. And when they did, they won. So say what you want. And then, exactly, Collins thing. That's the Celtics side of things. If Boston had Kendrick Perkins in 2010, could they have won Game 7? Yes, they could have won Game 7, but it's not a guarantee like a lot of Celtics fans like to make it out. Phoenix Plazy says, worst/most toxic fan base in the league. 1, Philly. 2, Celtics. No, the Celtics are not worse than the Lakers. Trust me, I've been on both sides. Laker bandwagons from 15 to 19. Oh, Warrior bandwagons from 15 to 19. Flaker fans and Knickerbocker fans. I don't disagree. I don't agree with that list. I think the Lakers are number 1 most toxic. The Celtics are not that toxic. The Sixers, maybe. That being said, by the way, guys, I also want to say, because I'm gonna get off soon. It's been 54 minutes. It's a while. I want to say, guys, again, the YouTube algorithms have not been fucking with us. A guy one of our subscribers, Enrique Hernandez. Is that your name too, Erod? Then do we have 2 Enrique Hernandez? Oh, he's Enrique Hernandez. You're Rodriguez. Okay, I'm sorry. Enrique Hernandez commented. You know why I get confused? Because he has the Kike Hernandez as his cover photo. So I get confused. But that guy was saying that my videos haven't been showing up on anybody's feed lately. You have to go to my channel and my subscriptions to see them. So that's what I mean. The YouTube algorithms. I don't know if it's because we got our first strike in the summer with that when I tried to broadcast the Bucks game, or if it's because I just had videos that didn't get too many views for a little bit. They have not been messing with us, guys. So whatever you can do, guys, please make sure to click and like and comment on these videos the second that you see them. Like, even if you can't watch them right away, if you can just give me a like, maybe the YouTube algorithms will start fucking with us more. Because, man, 15 people in the live, like, what happened to the days of 100 on a Clipper loss? Like, That's just because the YouTube algorithms are not showing up on people's channels. We have more subscribers than ever. So please help me out. Keep sharing my stuff on YouTube. If you think there's clips that are good from this, share them and post them yourself if you think they're funny. I don't know. Anything to get people to get back with us, because I'm always trying to, feed off everybody. Anyway, guys, any last questions before I sign off? Nope. Okay. Peace out, y'all. See you tomorrow, probably.